News of the $100 fees planned for TAFE courses has only just reached students at Hamilton College of TAFE, where reactions were mixed. Many said they just couldn't afford the levy.
I study, I can't work because I've got too many studies. So yeah, it would be a lot. Wouldn't be able to pay it. Wouldn't do my course.
I probably could afford it if I was wanting to further my career. It's the sort of money you have to, but it's a bit harsh.
No, definitely not. Not on our study. I couldn't.
So you're opposed to the idea entirely?
With my situation, I am, yeah. The money that I'm earning.
Yeah, I agree with it. Why not? I think university students should pay for their fees as well.
Well, the money's got to come from somewhere, but personally I can't afford it, no.
TAFE principal Len Cusack said he would need to see details of the fee proposal before commenting, but admitted the early indications were that some students would be hard hit.
There will be some students affected in that situation, no doubt, particularly those who are doing multiple courses. But in that situation, I guess the principal would have the right and the role to assess the situation when it occurred so that each student had equal opportunity.
This morning's meeting saw 1,500 miners turn out in what was a heated and sometimes aggressive debate. The men had to decide whether to amalgamate separate lodges which cover members at Stockton Borehole and Pacific Collieries, mines which BHP wants to rationalise into a single operation. The meeting soundly rejected such a motion and voted instead to make the Stockton Borehole Colliery the senior lodge. This means that Pacific Colliery employees will be behind Stockton Borehole men when rehiring for the new amalgamated mine takes place on June the 20th. BHP had pushed for seniority on the basis of years of service. The deal today between the union and BHP will see the former employment of about 1,000 men across the three mines cut to about 670.
Jim, it's a long time since we've seen such division on the question of seniority. Usually it's a very unanimous vote. We saw quite a division there today.
It wasn't division on seniority. It was division on the policy of handling a matter related to sustaining seniority. BHP have placed us in this position of a rationalisation of joining two mines together. Now that's not a difficult proposition in normal circumstances where nobody's going to lose their job. But hand in hand with an amalgamation of two mines and the possibility of people losing their jobs, naturally that puts emotion and heat into the subject. And I think it's only fair to say that that was expressed here today. People are facing retrenchment in the industry. That's never a pleasant situation. And, you know, I'm as concerned about that as anybody else.
Retrenched miners from West Wallsend No. 2 who want to return to the industry will be given first chance when BHP's purchase is complete, a point of principle which the unions refused to concede throughout the weeks of tough talks with the company. BHP Collieries manager Jim Lewis says the proposal will go before the Coal Industry Tribunal next week for ratification. He welcomed the result because mines formerly under threat of closure would now be kept operating.
Is it what BHP wanted?
In as much as we have a rationalised mining operation on the west side of the lake, yes. We perhaps would have preferred the original approach which involved the CIT, but this is a workable solution.
What about the guarantee of employment for BHP workers?
Well, this is an area where the mining unions have taken a view that seniority is a principle which they value more than a guarantee of employment, and that's the position, that the guarantee of employment by mutual consent will in fact be withdrawn.
Why amalgamate Stockton, Borehole and Pacific?
In announcing its new rate today, the Hunter District Water Board continued its trend of reducing the land value component of our water bill and increasing the water usage value. A component called service availability first made its appearance last year, but this year jumps to $81 for all residential water users. It's designed to cover the cost of providing water mains, sewerage and stormwater facilities. By 1992, the land value will be phased out completely, replaced by the user pays component. the bulk of water users will find their bill goes up between $30 and $40 next financial year. But unit and flat owners face an additional charge. The board says these people without gardens return a larger proportion of water back into the system and should pay for that service. The board doesn't care whether it's the landlord or the tenant who eventually foots that bill. Despite the user pay system being 6 years old, it's yet to address some serious anomalies, such as that faced by the commercial properties. An office block in Hunter Street with toilets and a coffee machine, a relatively small user, is paying an average $15,000 a year for water. The mall's Market Square was charged $141,000 last year. And then there's the case when you compare our residential water rates with those paid in Sydney and in Brisbane. Similar properties are paying half as much as we are here, despite the fact that our land values are much lower. The owner of a home in River Hills, a suburb of Brisbane, pays $326 a year. There are no water meters in Brisbane. In North Rock, Sydney, a couple in an average home with 2 children pay $336 a year. Yet a 3-bedroom home in Adamstown pays $657, double that paid in Sydney or Brisbane. So, how does the Hunter District Water Board justify this inequity?
We have the right system, and it's about time that everybody else got in line.
So we're paying the right amount for water and everybody else is paying not enough.
Somebody is subsidising those people in other systems who are not paying at the same level as we are in Newcastle. As I've said, if you look at the other systems, you'll find that somebody's paying, and they're not paying according to what they use.
Although the play is set in London in 1957, the director, Faye Horrigan, says it contains scenes which will also be familiar to Australians taught in convent schools in that era.
I hope you're feeling ashamed of yourself.
I think the mysteries of the Catholic Church are, still very much alive. Catholics that come and see this will relate to it very much, especially from that era. Non-Catholics will have a little look inside convent life at that time.
Once a Catholic is the second play staged by Catatonic Productions, a local theatre company formed last year. As the name suggests, the play takes a humorous, though at times pointed look at a Catholic education. However, Ms Horrigan insists that it is not anti-Catholic and will not offend.
It's a hilarious, though mostly irreverent, look at that era.
Do you expect it to upset anyone?
You can't upset Catholics.
So you think you're safe?
Oh, yeah.
This is calcium sulfate, commonly known as gypsum. AFL produces thousands of tonnes of it each year in the production of superphosphate. Small quantities are used for the manufacture of plasterboard or in a refined form as a soil booster. The vast majority, however, is waste. For a number of years, AFL has allowed gypsum to be used as filling material, and hundreds of thousands of tonnes have been dumped in sites in the Lower Hunter and Nelson Bay areas. The Barraher property near Thornton is one of these. Here, gypsum is being used to fill in swamp area, an action which has angered a number of nearby property owners. Hilton Grushin and Ron Woolard are dairy farmers who live downstream. They would like to see the dumping stopped until independent examinations on its effects on the soil are carried out.
The problem is the risk of pollution in this gypsum that could leach through from the gypsum, since it's been dumped in such big quantities, into the watercourses which flow through our farms downstream.
AFL declined to comment on the makeup of the gypsum or its effects on the soil. However, the problem has been investigated by the State Pollution Control Commission. Regional Manager Bruce Gibbs says, according to information supplied by AFL, gypsum has no adverse effects when used as fill.
There's been a lot of test work done on the gypsum in this regard and some other uses that the company has for it. And from the data that's available to us, we don't believe that there's any problem.
Mr Gibbs says the SPCC will now conduct independent tests to verify the company's information.
Now in outright fourth place, the Falcons must win both games to keep their place on the points table. Newcastle, Canberra and Illawarra are all within one win of each other, and along with Berth are battling to make the playoffs. Newcastle are the form team in the NBL, winning 5 of their last 6 matches. To date, the Falcons have beaten Canberra, but lost to Illawarra in earlier home games.
I was sitting and watching a tape the other night of the pre-season game against Brisbane when we took out the Sydney division, and I was thinking at that stage how much better than that we're playing now. So I think we're starting to get closer to our potential this year, and we're probably still another 15 points off it at the moment.
If you could win both matches at the weekend, would that seal a spot for you in the finals?
It'd be very, very close, because we'd be 12 and 7, and our nearest rivals would be 2 of the teams that we've just beaten. So they'd in effect be 3 games behind us with 5 to play, and that'd be very hard to catch up.
Although Eastern Suburbs have played well this season, things haven't gone their way. The team has been plagued by injuries, and Captain Hugh McGann looks likely to be sidelined for the rest of the season with a badly damaged shoulder. The Roosters missed him last weekend when they went down to Balmain 22-12. The Knights, on the other hand, played an impressive game against Cronulla, only failing to win by a missed field goal attempt. Newcastle last met East in the Panasonic Cup semi-final, losing that match 16-6. Knights coach Alan McMahon says the side is fit and the chance of overtaking East on the points table an inspiring prospect.
Well, we're looking for a continuation of improvement all the time, and I think certainly the guys have given that. And against Eastern Suburbs, we're still looking for the same improvements. We're trying to get a little bit more professional each week, and with that a little bit more discipline, which I'm sure the guys know what I'm talking about, so we're coming along.
However, McMahon was not underestimating the Eastern Suburbs lineup.
The Eastern Suburbs have got potential. They're a great pack. They've got speed out wide, and we've got to contend with that. But as opposed to this year to last year the games or the close games were going East way, and this year probably they aren't. So if we can hold them pretty close, who knows?
I think that if it does go close.
And you put in 10 years here and they throw you out, all for an Olympic village.
I seen a fella on the counter with a rifle in his hand running towards me along the counter.
NBN News, nightly at 6.
The tournament is played over 36 holes on the picturesque Toukley course on the Sunday and Monday of every June-long weekend. This year, 191 golfers between 10 and 18 years of age contested for prizes in the tournament, sponsored by the Toukley Chamber of Commerce and the Elcom Credit Union. 39 clubs were represented from as far off as Narrandera and Tamworth in what's becoming one of the best such tournaments in its class. The leading bunch on day 2 consisted of Lisa Newling from Wagga and Dale Linnertson from Cessnock, who plays off a handicap of 8. And in the boys, Darren Griffin, who plays off 1 at Waratah, and last year's winner, Ricky Schmidt from Gosford. Ricky was not to repeat his performance of 1987, being bettered by Darren Griffin, who took 149 for his 36 holes, bettering his first 18 yesterday by 3 shots. The girls' division winner, Dale Linnertson, bettered her first 18 score by 6 shots today, with some fine shots to the green and putting to match. Her 172 for the 36 was enough to earn her the trophy. An early contender for the girls' title, Tanya Murray from Woy Woy, went wrong on the second 18 and dropped out of contention.
Hello, I'm Tom Hilston, and you're invited to an exclusive preview performance of an instrument that's attracting national attention. The Newcastle Conservatorium of Music has unveiled what is arguably the finest concert hall organ in Australia.
For all the news, join us tonight at 6.
Damaged steamship paddles have left the William IV harbour bound for about 2 months. That problem should be solved within 2 weeks, but financial problems won't be so easily rectified. The William IV has just experienced its best weekend in recent times. In 3 days it grossed $1,000, but on average it's only been taking $340 on a Sunday. The problems are obvious considering creditors are owed $100,000, plus there's a $300,000 bank loan. Repayments for that cost $5,800 a month. If your income maintained its current level, would you be able to pay those bills?
Hardly. We've got to actually get up our income.
What would happen if you did fall behind in those repayments?
I don't know, quite frankly, but we're hoping we won't. We're hoping the Westpac will be patient, and we'll make some arrangement with them.
Members are trying to work out how to raise more money. For a start, they'll begin operating on Saturdays as well as Sundays. They're also considering offering weekend packages. Mr. Barnes believes summer packages on Lake Macquarie could tap into the Sydney market and raise more money. Meanwhile, a decision has yet to be made on a permanent base for the steamship. Mr. Barnes believes the William IV will have 2 homes.
I foresee that the only satisfactory way of operating the ship is wintering in Newcastle and spending the summer in Lake Macquarie, simply for the preservation of the ship mainly, and also because most people in Newcastle seem to go to Lake Macquarie in the summertime anyway.
Residents of Mayfield say they're sick of being prisoners in their own homes. Police and local government leaders heard a packed public meeting last night call for action to combat a rising wave of neighbourhood crime.
For all the news, join us tonight at 6.
The turnout of more than 400 mainly elderly residents of Mayfield was evidence of the community's growing concern over neighbourhood crime. Crime figures aren't clear-cut, but police agree Mayfield has special problems. The murder of Riley Doring in Webb Park last April remains unsolved despite a widely publicised hunt for a key suspect. Many residents identified with the victim.
Chap lived just opposite me.
Yeah?
Riley, a very nice chap. Real gentleman he was.
Mayfield is a typical early Australian industrial suburb. Police say cheap accommodation has made the neighbourhood a hangout for undesirables, and long-term residents live in fear.
I don't go out at night unless I have someone staying with me in the house, and if I do go, I come. I go with a church group to the theatre as well. They pick me up in the church bus or a car and bring me home.
It's very frightening, very, very frightening out here. And I wouldn't dare go out on my own.
A panel of guests at last night's meeting agreed that something must be done. Newcastle Lord Mayor John McNaughton gave an assurance that floodlighting of local parks and trimming of trees and shrubs will be given priority. Police say they have already responded, as well as 28 officers stationed at Mayfield, an extra 2 general duties vehicles with 4 police have been assigned, along with a detective's vehicle and 2 more detectives. District anti-theft squads and foot patrols are also occasionally assigned, and if all else fails, the station can call on backup from Hamilton, Stockton and Newcastle. But they say the real answer is in community policing. Neighbourhood watch is strong in Mayfield. Sergeant Gary Collar says more support can make a difference.
We'd like people in the Mayfield area, and particularly those in the watch now, to remember the principles of Neighbourhood Watch and to report crime if they see it, and to assist the police and let them know what's going on in the area.
Police say last night's attendance was an encouraging sign of community involvement. That view is shared by Chamber of Commerce Secretary Ivor Davies.
It brought out to the community that only the community can assist itself to clean up their neighbourhood and make it more secure and a very, very pleasant environment to live in.
A weather station was installed at Foster High School with advice from the then NBN weatherman, the late Des Hart, and funding arranged by Foster Tuncurry Rotary and the Memorial Services Club. Students from years 7 and 8 have the job of taking daily observations at 9 AM and 3 PM, and the observations are then placed on view for any other interested students. The weather station is within the confines of a safety mesh fence, and most of the required instruments are available. The Stevenson screen is a louvered box placed at chest height and housing the minimum and maximum thermometers and wet and dry bulb thermometers used to calculate humidity. The barometer has also been placed in the screen for protection. The weather station also has the usual rain gauge and anemometer, as well as several soil probe thermometers. The station was officially opened on the 18th of August 1982 and dedicated to the late Alan Ackland, Deputy Principal, 1980-81.
About 400 women from all over the Anglican diocese congregated in Newcastle for what has become a yearly event. The conference is a rare opportunity for women from far-flung parts of the region to come together.
We have this conference every year. The idea is to bring women from all over the diocese together. They come together for prayer at the cathedral, and then we follow with interesting speakers in the afternoon.
This year the conference was addressed by a number of key speakers and included a thought-provoking hypothetical with psychologist Trevor Waring.
And Mother's Union.
Some parts of the southeast have had no rain in weeks or months. Stunted crops have had to be plowed under. This fish pond in Shreveport, Louisiana fell so low the fish could not survive. Traffic on the Mississippi River has been slowed as dredging operations try to keep the channel deep enough for barges to get through. And throughout the southeast, threats of wildfires such as this one near Atlanta as foliage gets drier and drier.
Every step you make across this field is just like walking in the desert.
Nowhere is it worse than in Winder in North Georgia, where Willie Perkins and his son-in-law Clyde Jones run a 400-head dairy. The corn they planted for feed should be waist-high. The cows try to eat what's left of the pasture, but they get a lot of dirt with each bite. So Jones has had to buy hay from Oklahoma, 1,000 miles away, at a cost of more than $3,000 per trailer load, which will last less than a month.
In the 20 years I've been back
Tom
farming,
Barnes is telling his sons that this will be a tough year on the family farm.
the corn should be another foot taller.
Because of record low rainfall in April and May, Tom and his brothers lost the prime spring growing season. Some of their seeds never had a chance.
There's one there, it just sprouted and died because it was so dry.
Farmers from North Dakota to Ohio say that without rain, they could lose the corn crop in a matter of days, the soybeans in a matter of weeks. A poor harvest of these basic crops and other grains could raise the cost of food 7% nationwide next year. That's about $300 more for an average family. It's estimated that an entire summer without rain could drive 10% of Ohio's 88,000 family farms out of business. So for the next few days, all that separates farmers here from disaster is hope for rain.
The snowpack in the Sierra Nevada mountains provides most of the water for California. But after 2 years of drought, the snow is only half the normal depth, prompting worried water management officials to impose conservation measures. In many areas, it soon will be illegal to hose down sidewalks or water lawns wastefully. At Folsom Lake, the marina is dry and the number of visitors is expected to drop by 800,000 this year. Because of increased fire danger, forestry officials are showing homeowners how to clear fire breaks to make it easier to protect their homes when the fires come. Tom Schell, ABC News, Los Angeles.